Hello, welcome to LifeTalk. I'm Mark Crutcher, and joining me as usual is my lovely co-host Renee. Hello, Renee.
Hello.
And we've got a special announcement for this show. We're joined by Carol Everett. Hello, Carol.
Hello there.
And you're going to be the permanent regular host on LifeTalk from here on out. Carol, a lot of people out there, of course, know who you are. You've been around. You're like me, an old dog in the pro-life movement, so you've been around a few years. But a lot of people don't know your history. Give us a little bit about your history for the younger people here.
Well, I'm one of those women who sadly had an abortion and couldn't deal with it. But I found a way to deal with it by selling abortions to other women. Became involved in the abortion industry in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Saw something else, not justification, but money. Saw that I could be a millionaire selling abortions. My commission was $25 each. 40,000 abortions would make me a millionaire. And I had a marketing plan in place to sell those 40,000 abortions to become a millionaire year after year.
But God got a hold of you at some point and said, no, Carol, this is not what I had in mind for you.
And I came to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ in 1983, and since then I've been working in the pro-life movement to end the horror I was once a part of.
Yep, that's great. Well, we're obviously happy to have you. So
I'm glad to be here.
You've made a tremendous contribution over the years, and you and I were together, of course, at the very beginning when we had our little moments. But anyway, that's history at this point. But I want to say that you've made a heck of a contribution. You saved a lot of babies over the years. So
well, thank you, but so have you, Mark, and thank you for all you've done.
Well, thank you. Over the next few months, we will be adding several new features to the show. And today, we are introducing a new 2-minute look at things that are happening in the pro-life battle. We call it Life in 120.
In Indiana, 35-year-old Purvia Patel has been sentenced to 20 years in prison for feticide. Her son was born prematurely after Patel took abortion-inducing drugs she bought online. The boy survived the abortion, but Patel killed him and tossed his body in a garbage bin. The ACLU and Planned Parenthood is supporting her appeal. Also in Indiana, the legislature passed a bill that requires aborted children to be buried or cremated. Now, Indiana University has joined Planned Parenthood and the ACLU in a lawsuit requesting that a federal court prevent the statute from taking effect. The school says the law could expose its researchers to criminal charges because they use fetal tissue. In Maine, the Portland Police and the state's Attorney General tried to use a noise ordinance to stop Pastor Andrew March from protesting on a public sidewalk in front of a local abortion mill. Now, U.S. District Judge Nancy Torson has issued an injunction against the authorities, saying their use of the ordinance was content-based and therefore unconstitutional. Pastor March was represented by the Thomas More Law Center in Michigan. Pro-life Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming has been picked to lead the Republican Party Platform Committee. This came up on the heels of Donald Trump's announcement that he intends to change the current platform to allow exceptions for rape and incest. Also named to the committee was Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallin and North Carolina's Representative Virginia Foxx. Both have pro-life voting records, but Fallin recently vetoed a bill that would have outlawed all abortions in Oklahoma. She said that the bill was vague and could not survive a constitutional challenge. A new study from Duke University shows that when pregnant women are told their babies have a condition that is incompatible with life, those who have abortions are far more likely to suffer depression and other psychological problems than those who give birth. The study also found that women who carry their babies to term have more peace about the situation and are more emotionally prepared for their child's death. This has been Life in 120. For daily news updates, log on to prolifeamerica.com.
I'll tell you, this is a major issue here, as far as I'm concerned. The United Methodist Church, which was one of the founding organizations in the Religious Coalition for Reproductive Choice. It used to be called Religious Coalition for Abortion Rights, and they changed the name. Religious Coalition for Reproductive Choice. They were one of the founding organizations in that. They have now pulled out of the Religious Coalition for Reproductive Choice. And their United Methodist Church Action Director and Elected General Conference Delegate John Lampras said, quote, "This is a necessary and good step towards affirming that the unborn are persons of sacred worth. This also shows that the United Methodist Church, moving away from other liberal, declining mainline denominations to embrace a new faithful global identity. This is a major deal.
It's a major victory, yes.
It's a major
Yes, it
victory
is.
for us.
Yes, it is.
And by the way, that was early in this conference that they just had. Later in the conference, in the last days of this 10-day conference, they voted 445 to 310 to repeal their 40-year-old official resolution supporting Roe versus Wade. So not only did they drop out of the RCRC, they took away, which is basically like it would be like their Republican Party platform or whatever. They took away their pro-abortion platform. Now, that doesn't mean that the United Methodist Church is all of a sudden this hardcore pro-life church, but these are things that had to happen first.
For church by church for them to deal with.
Right, exactly. This is a major, major step forward for us.
Before 1973, the East Texas Pastoral Council out of East Texas would recommend abortions to their girls who got in trouble. So this is a huge thing for them to have to now.
Right.
That was their counseling.
Yes, they literally had a doctor, Dr. Curtis Boyd in Dallas, that they would send to, and he admits that's how he got his start. So this is a huge thing.
It is. It's a big deal. Unfortunately, I mean, of course, you always have a good news, bad news deal.
Yes.
The church that has, even though none of us are Catholic, but the church that has taken the most staunch pro-life position, of course, is the Catholic Church.
Yes.
And they've been on the front lines of this. I've often said if it weren't for the Catholics, there would not have ever been a pro-life movement.
Yes.
But we still have these problems. We've got Catholic hospitals doing abortions. We've got Catholic doctors doing abortions. Notre Dame has always been a problem. And they recently had Joe Biden there giving a speech, and he got their highest honor for his support of the so-called Catholic teaching, despite the fact that he's a raging pro-abort.
Yes.
Bishop Kevin Rhodes of the Diocese of Fort Wayne, South Bend, Indiana, rebuked Notre Dame for honoring Biden and saying they are provoking scandal by giving the impression that, quote, that one can be a good Catholic while also supporting or advocating for positions that contradict our fundamental moral and social principles and teachings. They're right. Bishop Rhodes is correct. You can be a lot of things, but you can't be a good Catholic and take Biden's position. And I'm going to go even a step further than that. I'm going to tell you, Biden is the worst kind of coward that there is. I've got less respect for Biden than I would for somebody who comes up and says, I'm pro-choice because I don't believe that life begins at conception. I don't believe that it's a baby. I don't believe that we're taking a human life. That person's simply wrong. But let me read you something he said last fall. Quote, I am prepared to accept as a matter of faith that at the moment of conception there is a human life and being, but I'm not prepared to say that to other God-fearing and non-God-fearing people that have a different view. But I'm not prepared to impose doctrine that I'm prepared to accept on the rest of the country, unquote.
So he's personally opposed, but there we go.
And that is the most cowardly position that you can take on abortion. This man is an abject coward. Yes. Because unlike the person who says, I don't think it's a baby, they're simply wrong. He's saying, I agree it's a baby, but if you want to kill him, I'm not going to stop you. What?
Okay, I can't do that.
Not my fight.
Yet he's the Vice President of the United States of America.
Right.
Why aren't the bishops doing something about this, though? Why are the parents allowing these students to go to this college knowing that it's a Catholic college and they're allowing pro-aborts to come on and speak? I just don't understand.
I don't understand it either.
How they're getting away with it.
I've asked that question, and they always say, well, they're not taking communion. Well, is everybody at Notre Dame not taking communion? I mean,
That's
what
a
kind of a
Catholic
Catholic school is it if they're
yeah.
not taking communion?
Right.
So they say the only way they can really monitor it at all is to stop communion. Well, that's not what we want.
Well, first off, that's a lie, Carol.
Yeah, well, yes, it
because
is.
I guarantee you, if they were there, they were having a mass, and he got in line for communion.
They would give him communion.
They give him communion just like
know
Nancy
that.
Pelosi
Oh,
or the
yes.
Kennedys, or just go down the
Yes,
line.
yes.
These raging pro-aborts. So
Yes.
that's not an excuse.
No, it's not. But that's what they say.
That's what they'll claim.
Yeah.
They have to claim something.
But
well,
you
they're
know,
trying.
Father Frank and I have had this discussion before, and I think the Catholic Church is making a mistake. One of the big advantages the Catholics have is they have this hierarchical structure in their church that those of us who are Baptist or non-denominational like you or whatever, we don't have that in our churches. Our churches are all independent, so you don't
Yes.
have this ability to control what they do. The Catholics do that, but they don't exercise that control. And they need to start exercising some discipline. These people need to be excommunicated.
Yes.
And of course, if you read what John Paul II said, they basically have excommunicated themselves anyway. So why not just make it official?
Yes, and there are abortionists, of course, that like to go to Catholic churches where they can sneak in, and they find those where they won't deal with it.
Right.
They also like to go to Baptist churches, so
Yeah, that's right.
it's not just
Well,
the
when-
Catholic Church.
Years ago, when they had the group that came here to do the graphic displays on college campuses, and they went around Texas, and when they were here in Denton, they asked if they could park their trucks here at our office, so we let them. And I went out to eat with them that night, and we were asking about what kind of reception they were getting at the schools around Texas. And I asked them about North Texas here, and they said, well, it was about an average response at North Texas, not real hostile, but not real affirming either. But they said the most hostile environment they got in was Baylor. Baylor University was the most,
yeah.
and that's supposedly a Baptist church. Of course, it's about as Baptist as Notre Dame is Catholic.
Yeah.
But they said that was the most hostile response we got, and the best response they said they got was Texas A&M.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Texas A&M is a pretty hardcore conservative group.
And they stayed conservative. Yeah.
Right. All right, on another front in the pro-life movement, the Supreme Court recently decided not to decide, basically, on the case of the Little Sisters of the Poor. And I think that has some impact on our case with our friend Father Frank. Hello, Father Frank.
Hello, Mark. Good to be with you.
Nice to have you here with us today. Where are you right now?
I am at EWTN, actually.
In Birmingham.
We're Birmingham, Alabama. We're filming another series called Defending Life.
Great, great. Glad to hear that. Listen, real quickly, Father Frank, I know you're busy, so just take a couple of minutes here. Tell us how you think this Supreme Court ruling is going to affect your case.
Well, it is a victory, even though the Supreme Court doesn't want to frame it that way. And I'll tell you why. First of all, we're talking about 7 different cases. As you mentioned, Little Sisters of the Poor, that's one of them. Priests for Life is another one. And altogether, there are 7 cases with 37 different organizations, Christian ministries, and individuals who object to the government saying that we have to cooperate in expanding abortion, because that's what this is all about. So what happened was that the court, rather than deciding against us, which it could have easily done if the government had persuaded it of its arguments, rather decided to vacate and null and void the lower court rulings against us, and basically said to us and to the government, work this thing out in a way that everybody's happy. Now, the only way, of course, that will make us happy, which we've been saying all along, is that if the government wants to expand abortion, they need to leave us out of it. They cannot ask for our cooperation. They cannot hijack our health insurance plans that we offer our employees. They cannot so much as ask us to sign a form. We're not going to have anything to do with expanding child killing. And that's what we've been saying all along. And so the court asked the government, is there a way for you guys to do what it is that you want to do and leave these people out of it? And the government reluctantly admitted that, well, yes, there is a way that we could change the regulations. And when we looked at that, we said, well, yes, for the purposes of this case, that's fine with us. This case is about us not being involved in expanding abortion. It's not about the government stopping that altogether, which, of course, ultimately is what we're aiming for. We don't want anybody to expand or allow any abortion.
Right.
But for the purpose of this case, we've won.
Father Frank, are they still having an issue, though, with you guys and Little Sisters of the Poor not being in a church entity?
Yeah, there's a ridiculous contradiction here, because take Priests for Life, for example. We send, as you know, our priests into parish churches to preach the pro-life message. Okay, so the churches into which we send our priests, they are completely exempt from this mandate. But we, the organization that are sending the priests in there, are not exempt. So we share the same beliefs, the same message, the same objections to the mandate, but we don't share in the same exemptions. So from the beginning, what we said to the government was, listen, if we share the same religious beliefs that federal law is supposed to be protecting, well, then why don't we share in the same exemption? Just exempt us from the mandate altogether. But they've been trying to keep finding a way to hijack our health insurance plans to help them to expand abortion-inducing drugs to more and more people. So that's the problem in the case.
But the point that Renee brings up here is an important one, because what basically the government is saying is, we want you to restrict your religious beliefs to the four walls of the church, but don't carry them
Right.
with you outside that environment.
Well, you know, Mark and Renee and Carol, a key educational point of this whole case is what freedom of religion really means. And this administration under Obama seems to think it means, in fact, they've said that what it means is, you know, you can worship the way you want on Sunday. But free exercise of religion, not only from our point of view as a ministry, but also from the constitutional point of view, means anything that a person does or refuses to do for religious reasons. So if we're taping this program, for example, out of some religious motive, this constitutes a free exercise of religion. And that's come up in this case time and time again. Our religious exercise is not just about what we do in church on Sunday, but what we do in the workplace on Monday, including the type of health insurance we want to give to our employees.
Well, if your Christian faith doesn't extend beyond just the four walls of the church, then it doesn't mean anything.
No.
It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't impact your life. That's
Right.
exactly
It doesn't change your life. It's worthless. I mean, you might as well turn all these churches into bowling alleys if that's going to be your position. Well, anyway, I'm glad to hear that you're positive on this deal, and we're going to be looking forward, by the way, to having you here in person. We've got a place all set here ready. We're just trying to get you here. If you quit being so unsociable and not showing up.
Well, I want to assure our viewers that I will be there frequently, and we've got a lot more to talk about and a lot more victories to win.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Well, thanks for being with us, Father Frank.
Thank you, Father Frank.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Good to talk to you.
Bye-bye. Well, Carol, this is your first show as our permanent host. What do you think?
Well, went pretty fast.
All right. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you next week.